Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to my first ever Q&A. Well, I guess that's strictly not true. Some of the more hardcore fans of the channel might actually know that back when I had around 500 subscribers, I actually had another Q&A, but that one's since become unlisted or deleted or something, and I only really took questions for a day. This is my first serious one, and I'm going to leave this one up on the channel. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I've really just picked out some questions and I'm going to talk about them until I don't have any left. This video is also going to be fairly informal. It's probably not going to be very tightly edited. This is really just for people who want to know more about me and who want to know more about the channel. Everyone else, come back tomorrow. I'm sure I'll have some fun Star Wars content for you then. This video is going to be split up into 3 different parts, kind of separated depending on question type. In the first part, I'm going to answer questions about me personally and the channel. In the second section, I'm going to answer questions about other science fiction universes, whether it's Halo, anything else, whether it's in-universe or out-of-universe, just basically anything that's not Star Wars. The third section of this video will be dedicated to Star Wars questions only. I'm going to put timestamps up in the screen right now, so if you just want to listen to one of those sections or if you want to skip a section, feel free to do so. Also, I did receive hundreds of questions between the Discord, my Twitter, and the various YouTube videos that I put up announcing this Q&A, so if I didn't get to yours, I'm really sorry. I tried to pick the ones that I thought were the most interesting and that I saw being asked over and over again. Alright, so as I said, let's start with the personal questions, and I think we have about 7 of these. The first one comes from one of the mods on my Discord, Zane, and he asked, what was your first video? This is a really complicated question. I've been on YouTube in various forms for, I don't know, probably 9 or 10 years back when I was in junior high school. My first videos were just ones that I made with my friends. My very first video ever, under a completely different name, you guys will never find it, I think was either about SimCity or The Sims 2. It was just a house or a city I built, something along that lines. Under the EckhartsLadder channel, this, as you can see if you look at my profile, has existed for about 2 or 3 years, maybe since 2014. Technically, the first video I ever made on this channel, I think, was perhaps related to, I think it must have been Sins of the Prophets, a mods for Sins of the Solar Empire, or it may have been Sins of the Galactic Empire, which is a similar mod, but Star Wars instead of Halo. Those were my original videos, and I actually had quite a few of them up. I think probably up to 20 of them maybe. This would have been a few years ago. I wasn't taking YouTube seriously at all. I'd be interested actually to see whether anyone on this channel or who watches my content now actually remembers those old videos. If so, I will be majorly impressed. I also did some Terraria stuff. This was back in 2014 again, some Terraria stuff. I played a game called Tag Pro, which is, I think, is probably where I was most known, but really I just mucked around and uploaded occasionally. I was just basically playing the game, so I uploaded it while I was doing it. Then I started my Star Wars based channel. Actually, no, sorry, there was a brief era in between that. I think in about February of this year, I started uploading content from Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Or sorry, it wasn't Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, it was Star Wars Force Arena. It's a MOBA style mobile game. By the way, shout out to Gluten Slayer, who's one of the bigger Star Wars Force Arena players. He's a really nice guy. We talked back when I had only, dozens of subscribers. I think when I started the Force Arena gameplay stuff, I had about 100 from back when I did the other gaming videos. And first time I messaged him, he responded to me. And he's just a great guy. You guys should check out his content. But yeah, I did that for about 20 episodes. I'm also curious to see whether anyone who watches me now also came on during that era. But yeah, I had about 20 episodes. Sorry, that was just my dog knocking something over. And then eventually I decided that there was a certain area of Star Wars content on YouTube that wasn't really being produced. There were videos that I wanted to watch that weren't available. So I figured that there was a niche for me to kind of expand my content from just gaming stuff, which, to be honest, I didn't really enjoy, to kind of some different stuff. But I'll get more to that later on. My first actual video under my current channel would have been, I think, something about one of the Star Wars Episode 8 trailers coming out. But that wasn't really what I wanted to make. What I most wanted to produce was some ideas that I had a long time ago, primarily my Minor Characters of Star Wars series, but that's more for a different day. This question's getting kind of long, so let's try to move on. Question 2 from another Discord user named Sewerfish. Alright, Superfish, so I don't know how to say it, but another Discord user. He says, why did you decide to make a Star Wars channel specifically? Well, Star Wars is basically what I love. I always have. I've always been a Star Wars fan. When I was a kid, every single day, I would come home and watch Return of the Jedi basically on repeat. I must have watched the gold version of that VHS probably 300, 400, 500 times. So it just made sense that if I was going to make a YouTube channel, and if it was going to be something that I put real time into, it should be in something that I enjoy. So that's where Star Wars came from. Plus, it's the only thing that I'm really knowledgeable enough about that I can feel like I could share my knowledge and entertain people. Question 3 from Thomas Navarro, who asked me this on my Twitter page. Do you personally know any other Star Wars YouTuber? I've met Star Wars Explained in person in New York when I flew out for that toy review, and I met Alex, who is the voice of Star Wars Explained, and also his wife Molly, who I believe manages his community and also edits for his vlog channel, and they were both absolutely wonderful people, and it was a great experience to meet them. Funny enough, I'd actually messaged Alex a couple days ago, or a couple days earlier I should say, on Reddit talking about doing some sort of collaboration, and he was down, and then we met in person, and we're still talking. We still talk semi-regularly, and we probably will do something together at some point, and he's just a great guy, and it was awesome to meet him. Other than that, I do talk to Space Doc almost, if not daily, at least every couple of days, because he's a similar sized YouTuber. He's a little bit, well, he's significantly larger than I am, but we're similar sized YouTubers, and we have a lot of the same problems, we have a lot of the same interests, we get along really well. So we message back and forth on Twitter quite often, but I haven't met him in person. I also talk with Gluten Slayer, as I mentioned, and yeah, those are the main 3 that I would say that I know and who know me. This isn't really related to the question, but one thing that's kind of interesting and kind of funny is that back when I first started out, probably when I had no more than 10,000 subscribers, I really wanted to get a review copy of the Thrawn book. I messaged everyone. I messaged Del Rey, asked if they could get me a copy, and they wouldn't, and I talked to their promotional team, and I figured, hey, I should try to message Timothy Zahn, the, of course, legendary Star Wars author, and he actually responded back, and we had a brief conversation. He unfortunately couldn't get me a review copy just because when working with Star Wars, you know, it's not like you can just pull strings, do whatever you want, but yeah, I didn't meet with him, but I talked to him, and he was a super friendly guy, and yeah, not related to the question, but just a little story I wanted to throw in there. Alright, so question number, I think this is 4, also from Thomas Navarro on Twitter. He asks, as did dozens of people as I was taking questions, where did the name EckhartsLadder come from? That's a good question, obviously. It doesn't come from a direct source. It comes from, I was inspired by multiple different things to create the name, and I will reveal at some point where the name came from, but not right now. Maybe for my year anniversary or something of being on YouTube, but for now I'm going to keep it a mystery. It's not my name. My first name is not Eckharts or Eckhart. My second name is not Ladder. Yeah, it's a mystery. That's all I'm going to say for now. Maybe some people who have seen the right things and read the right things might know where it comes from. But for now, let's keep it in. Someone on the Discord asks, are you a fan of Lego? I'm a huge fan of Lego, but I've never really had the means to buy Lego before. If I could, I would buy every single Star Wars Lego set available. And I'd probably, focus on that a bit for my second channel, which I'll probably talk about at some point during this video. But yeah, I am a huge fan of Lego. Maybe someday I'll get big enough where I can review it more on the second channel. But really the only Lego sets that I've bought recently are some of the micro ones, just like the little snow speeders or whatever. Or I also bought Rey's land speeder because I thought that was a really cool set, and it was pretty cheap compared to what some of the other Star Wars Lego goes for. A person with the name Star Wars Porn Narration, ? He wants me to narrate a Star Wars porn, which isn't gonna happen. Asked on my Discord, will you be more active on your vlog channel? And then we saw someone, 6 people wrote make, 6 people wrote the upvote, and then one person said do it by Palpatine. So yeah, Palpatine is right. I am gonna be more active on my vlog channel. I've already tried to be more active. I post right now, like I'm so far, well, it's not that I'm far behind, but I really make my main videos daily. Like I'm not ahead like larger Star Wars channels or people that are more organized are able to get ahead by several weeks. Like I'm literally flying by the seat of my pants every day. Every day I have to make a new video. which kind of sucks because it means that I don't really get a weekend. It means that, you know, I've got to work every day. My fiance isn't a huge fan of that, but it's what I enjoy doing and it's my job right now. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to make actual scripted content for my vlog channel. It's just been videos of my animal. I'll put a link to the vlog channel too down in the description. It's called X2. You just search it, ECKS2 TOO. You should be able to find it. But yeah, right now it's just been videos of my animals because it's stuff that I can put out and you guys seem to enjoy it and I don't have to edit it whatsoever. Now, X2 will never be the main focus of mine. It will always be EckhartsLadder. However, I do have some big plans for the second channel. I want it to basically be kind of a variety channel. Like, I'm thinking of Angry Joe, for example. I kind of want to do, he really should have split his content up into 2 channels, but Angry Joe has his Angry Joe reviews, which are really the main part of the channel, and then everything else. I want X2 to be my everything else. So I want movie reviews, I want to do toy reviews. I actually do coming up, I was going to announce it later, or tomorrow, but yes, I am going to do a unboxing of the Sphero droid. I got a couple sent to me. That's going to go on the second channel. I'd like to do some video game playthroughs. I'm just now building my new computer. I probably will do a playthrough of Halo SPV3. So yeah, I want to do all that stuff on the second channel. And in a dream world, I'd get an editor to help me get ahead. I'll get ahead a few weeks on this channel, and then, you know, I'd upload on X2 2 to 3 times a week, maybe even more. We'll see if we get there. We might. I'm confident. But yeah, more content is definitely coming. I was also asked another question. I meant to save it, but I can't seem to find it now. But it was, why did I make a YouTube channel generally? And that's a good question because YouTube is hard. It's really hard. It's really stressful. Like, as of recently, for example, I was used to getting X amount of views, and then for September, whatever reason, myself, along with some of the other geek-based channels or other Star Wars-based channels, have seen a huge drop in views. So being even a moderately successful YouTuber is hard. Being a small YouTuber and trying to get big is even harder. And especially where videos take a lot of effort, you need special equipment, you need a decent microphone, etc., etc. And plus you also have to deal with just, you know, having your life out there, at least in some form. So I specifically made my YouTube channel because one day I was Googling 5 largest battles in Star Wars Legends. I wanted to see what the 5 largest space battles were in Star Wars Legends, and I couldn't find anything on YouTube about that. That really surprised me. I knew there were a ton of Star Wars channels on YouTube. I didn't know their explicit names or their specific names because I didn't really watch Star Wars content on YouTube because to be honest, I was rather arrogant and thought I knew it all. Obviously, I don't, but I couldn't find that content and that just baffled me. So I decided that was going to be one video that I would do, but also that there was a space on YouTube for someone like me who really loves space battles and who loves Star Wars Legends. Obviously, there are more diverse YouTubers than I originally realized. Like people like Space Doc, for example, would have been someone that I would have enjoyed watching before like I started on YouTube, and I also would have enjoyed other people like Star Wars Explained, and really everyone had I given them a chance. But yeah, there was an opening in the niche, and I saw it, and I figured, hey, let's do it. And now, of course, I've expanded to other areas, like I often talk about Halo or other science fiction universes when doing my Versus episodes. But yeah, that's why I originally started. It was a niche that I really wanted to get into. I thought I would enjoy being a YouTuber, and I knew that there was just potential there, and I did it. I was originally working another job. I don't now, but I might at some point again, who knows. But I was originally working another job, so I started recording after work, editing. It was really hard, to be honest. It was very, very difficult. But yeah, so here we are now. Now this is my main job, and I'm really happy that I took that chance originally because I get to work from home with my dogs all day. I get to spend my day talking about Star Wars, which, I mean, who wouldn't love that? So yeah, that's why I started, and I guess where I am now. Also in the Discord, someone asked me, I'll see if I can find the quote, but somebody asked me if this was going to be a forever thing, what I'm going to do if it doesn't work out. Well, right now it is working out. Even with September being a bad month, you guys have started supporting me on Patreon, and, you know, ad revenue is really unpredictable, so at some point I'm going to have to move away from that, and it sucks having to put ads in my videos, especially when I have to put 2 sometimes, just because my ad rates are low. But my fiance has a stable job, and the money from the channel right now is good. Eventually I probably will, as I said, try to move into other ways of monetizing the channel, whether it's merch, whether it's, you know, pushing harder on the Patreon. My channel size isn't really there yet for those methods, but yeah, that would be the future. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna do this. I mean, will YouTube be around forever? Who knows? Hopefully. It's hard to say. I mean, it'd be cool if I could eventually work for Star Wars, but I mean, that's just, that's like a pipe dream. That's never gonna happen. And I really like where I'm living now, so whether that could actually happen, I don't know, but probably not forever. I mean, I had a very professional job, I don't want to get into specifics, that I could return to at some point and I'd be relatively happy in, and I went to school for a long time, so maybe I'll return to do that at some point, but right now, being able to talk about Star Wars from the comfort of my own home to you guys every day is much more enjoyable. And man, I'm really talking long. I'm at 16 minutes already, but one of the most enjoyable parts of running the channel is being able to interact with the community on Twitter, on Discord, just on the channel itself. It's a real joy. So that's the one thing, like, not the money, not being, well, working from home too, but working from home and being able to, you know, talk with like-minded people all day are two of the main reasons why I wouldn't want to leave YouTube. All right, so on to the science fiction section of the Q&A. This is for Halo, other universes. We'll talk about Star Wars a little bit, but only if it's Star Wars and science fiction in general. The first question comes from, oh yeah, Mr. Krabsry, who asks, what is your favorite part of Star Wars and science fiction? Well, pretty clearly, I love the space battles and just space warfare in science fiction, whether it's realistic or not. I'm a huge fan, and that's my favorite part of Star Wars. Well, one of my favorite parts. I also like Star Wars specifically. I like the mysticism, I like the Jedi, I like, you know, the bit of mystery and the Force and the fantasy aspects. Star Wars really is more of a fantasy, and I really enjoy those fantastic elements. And it's one of the reasons why, although I loved Rogue One, it will never be my favorite Star Wars movie. So that's probably my favorite part. I also like, you know, I do kind of like the campy Star Wars Legends 80s era stuff. That's all really fun. The Star Wars Expanded Universe, it's all very cozy and fun. I also kind of just like everything that went behind the filming of Star Wars and the subculture that has developed just generally. For Halo, I really liked the Bungie era. I liked the mystical aspects of the Forerunner. I liked the grittiness of the Human Covenant War, and I just basically liked all aspects of Halo back then, especially Halo 3. The atmosphere of that game and the feeling that Halo 3 gave me, story, the everything from the lighting to the campaign to the multiplayer was just perfect, including the story. Science fiction in general, it's hard to really nail down. I really like science fiction and also fantasy that makes you think about the real world, and that's one of the wonderful bits about science fiction. And the genre and fantasy as well was often lambasted by literary critics as kind of meant for children. One literary critic I remember called it sexless because it's just juvenile. But I think there's a growing realization in the literary community, and also personally I can say I've realized this, that science fiction and fantasy both work best when they're used as lenses to describe the real world. You look at something like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and although we don't have androids in our world, we can still understand the implications about consciousness. One of my favorite fantasy short stories is called Poltarni's Beholder of Ocean, and although on its face it's really quite a basic story about an ocean and a mountain that everyone climbs over and never returns from, when you really think about it and when you look at, you know, literary criticism of the work, you realize that there's a deeper meaning there. I don't want to get too philosophical or to get into any sort of theological debate, but those are the things that I really enjoy about fantasy and science fiction generally. I really like the works of H.P. Lovecraft, Isaac Asimov, and also Philip K. Dick, although I do admit I probably do need to be more well-read, and recently, especially with all the work I've had to do, I haven't got to read as much as I would like, so I should definitely try to change that. Hunter1046 asks, when you first saw Halo, were you blinded by its majesty? Paralyzed? Dumbstruck? Obviously, not a real question, it's a reference to a quote from Halo 2, but just on a practical level and actually answering the question, when I did play Halo Combat Evolved for the first time, I absolutely was blinded by its majesty. Stepping out of the escape pod from the pillar bottom for the first time and looking up at that skybox, seeing Threshold, seeing the edge of the mountain, the Covenant ships fly in, and you've got the Marty O'Donnell score. It was an incredible, incredible moment. Yeah, I was absolutely blinded by that majesty when I first played it in, I think, 2001? Was that when Halo came out? I would have been, 9 or 10 years old? So yeah, absolutely. Not a serious question, but yes, absolutely. Gretel MK2 asks, your background music, what's it called? And this is one that I get all the time, but that I shouldn't. And this is completely my fault. And I gotta say, I haven't been good at all about including the actual music I use down in the description, which is terrible because the artist who I use most of my music has actually given me permission to use his stuff, but I need to remember to credit him down in the description. Right now I do have a playlist on my channel. You can just look up EckhartsLadder music or go to the playlist section on my channel. You can find that, and it's got every single song that I've ever used in a video. I typically use music by an artist called Home. He's super talented, and the one that I use in the intro and the outro is called Home Resonance, and it's a great song. It's got a very interesting, moody, nostalgic vibe to it that I quite like, nice aesthetic to it, and yeah, most of the songs I use are Home songs, but more directly, from now on, I've taken the practice of including the music that I use down in the description for each video, which is something I should have been doing the whole time, and retrospectively I feel really bad about not giving the artist the proper credit they. Alright, the next question comes from Snackbar, another Discord user. He asks, what is your favorite UNSC ship class and why? My favorite is the line of Charon light frigates, mostly because I love the UNSC design aesthetic, as I've talked about a lot. They basically make flying guns, and I just love the design of the Charon. It's awesome. It's got it's clearly built around the Mac cannon, which is something I love. And I don't know, it just has a very cool kind of industrial vibe to it that I quite like. And there's also that scene in Halo 3 where the Forward Unto Dawn flies over you and drops the tank off, which I always thought was amazing. I love ship flyovers in the Halo games. Like in Halo 3 on Savo Highway, when that Covenant cruiser flies over you, is awesome. So yeah, that's my favorite, and I absolutely despise 343 for changing the design of the Forward Unto Dawn. It's unclear to me whether they've changed what all Charon frigates look like or just the Forward Unto Dawn, but they've made it completely generic, and I really, really dislike the look of it. The Bungie design was quite iconic in my mind, and they should have kept it, and they changed it, much like Master Chief's armor, or the design of the elites, or really the Forerunner aesthetic, kind of without purpose, and in my mind, they've changed it for the worst. So yeah, my favorite would be the Charon, but I also love the Halcyon design, the Marathon design. Really, I would say that I love every single Bungie era UNSC ship design, and that's without reservation. I can't think of a single ship design that I didn't like. 343, I don't think, besides for the Infinity, has been quite, like, they've gone for a more generic science fiction approach for both the Covenant and the UNSC ships, so that's where I stand. Okay, here's a fun one by XCube Gaming, who says, if Librarian's gift to Master Chief granted him an immunity to the Force, do you think he could go toe-to-toe with Darth Vader? Chief would have his classic Magnum, assault rifle, some grenades, and an energy sword. So could he go head-to-head against Darth Vader? It's a good question. So if Darth Vader can't use the Force against him, this is kind of like the second round of the Master Chief versus Kylo Ren video I did. Darth Vader can still use the Force on himself, so he can still, use Force speed, he can still throw his lightsaber accurately, he still has some form of precognition. So I don't know, it's going to be pretty hard for Master Chief to actually beat Darth Vader. He's too fast. Master Chief does have the advantage when he shoots at Vader. He will be able to, because of bullets or projectiles, they will be somewhat effective. It's his lightsaber, but Darth Vader can just throw his lightsaber at him, bring the ceiling down on Master Chief. Maybe he could, disable his armor, although perhaps the Librarian's gift also protects his armor, but Vader could likely, as we saw in a comic, detonate Chief's grenade from a distance. So no, I don't think Master Chief could beat Darth Vader, even if he does have Force immunity. If Vader can't use any offensive Force weapons and only, let's say, his speed and precognition is affected, then I think Master Chief does have a good chance. He can stay from a distance with his assault rifle, probably pepper Vader and maybe be able to kill him. I don't know. That's an interesting matchup. I don't want to say any more in case I do a versus video in the future. Patrick Capel, or Capel, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, says, Eckhart, do you play video games? If so, which games? And will you ever do a spotlight for Star Wars or sci-fi games that you find interesting? Thanks in advance for answering. I've been subscribed since your early/first versus video. Thank you for the question, Patrick, and thank you for being a subscriber for so long. I do play video games, but to be honest, I don't have a lot of time for gaming. This might sound kind of sad, but honestly, when I have time right now, and I've got 20 or 30 minutes to game, pretty much all I will do is pop in the Halo Master Chief Collection and go play through a campaign level in either Halo 1, Halo 2, or Halo 3. Again, that's pretty sad, but that's really all the time I have for gaming. I really wanted to try PUBG just because, that's what it's called, right? PUBG. Just because everyone has been talking about it and it looks like a lot of fun, and actually now for the first time have a decently powerful PC. My favorite video game of all time is probably SimCity 4, but I love many series. I used to play the Sims series a lot too, but I didn't love that nearly as much as SimCity. One of my other favorite games of all time, Mario 64. Probably my favorite for the N64 along with Shadows of the Empire. What else? Civilization, those are great games. I love any base builder. I love games like Faster Than Light. I really loved the Spider-Man 2 game for the Xbox. I don't want to really, besides for Halo, I think Halo 3 is probably my favorite game of all time. Really liked Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I know I'm forgetting some that I loved. I grew up in the era where my first console was an N64. Some kids had Super Nintendo beforehand, but first console was an N64. Then I had an Xbox, then an Xbox 360. Now I have an Xbox One, but unfortunately I don't get to play as much as I would like to. Regarding the Spotlight, that is certainly something that I would like to do on my X2 channel. I'm gonna stay away from doing lists based on the things that I like on my main channel. I'm gonna keep that more towards content rather than me personally, with some exceptions like this video. Alright, Timothy Wiles on a YouTube video asks, what is your order from least favorite to favorite of the Halo games? As well, what is your order from least favorite to favorite of the Star Wars? Great question. I get the Star Wars one a lot, obviously, especially back when I started. Almost every video people would ask what my favorite movies are. So let's do Halo first. Least favorite would probably be Halo 4. I wasn't a huge fan of Halo 4. I really don't like what they did with the story, and the multiplayer I found lackluster. Halo 5 story is in my mind even worse. By the way, nothing wrong if you guys like it. I know Eric Ibu on the Discord is a big fan of Halo. I'm not trying to rip on him, but I'm a big fan of Halo 2. I love the universe. I like some things 343 has done with the new canon, but just generally, if I had the option to reset the Halo series to Halo 3, I absolutely would. So Halo 4 and Halo 5 are the worst. I can't decide which one I like the least, but quite enjoyed Halo 5's multiplayer, so that would probably be my second least favorite. After that, I would probably put... It's hard, because after that, they're all good games. The next one would either be Halo Reach or Halo 3 ODST. I'm going to say Halo Reach, just because I didn't like the story as much. I liked the Forerunner elements of the main Halo games. I didn't feel like Halo Reach actually offered a whole lot new to the Halo canon. Like, the ending I thought was a bit underwhelming. The multiplayer had some issues, probably most notably was armor lock, and the armor abilities generally I wasn't a big fan of. Thought the maps were pretty weak too, so that would be, I thought also Invasion had a lot of potential but could better, so that would be number 3, not including Halo Wars, by the way, or the Spartan Assault games in this. Haven't played enough of them to really rank them. But then we would have Halo 3 ODST. I did quite like the story of that one. I wish that instead of all of the ODSTs being in New Mombasa, they would have been throughout the planet. We know, for example, that the Covenant also attacked Cleveland. It would have been cool to see a squad of ODSTs there, although that would have ruined the dynamic. I didn't really like the aesthetic that Bungie went with. Everything just felt kind of boring and concrete, but I did quite like the game still. I mean, it was a fun story. It was cool to have, famous people playing the ODSTs like Nathan Fillion and Trisha Helfer from Battlestar Galactica. She was Dare, which is all really cool. The story was fun, the game was fun, Firefight was amazing. My buddies and I, we used to play so much Firefight, kind of like Horde mode in Gears of War. Firefight and Horde mode are some of my best gaming memories. So yeah, that would be my 4th least favorite. And then we have the original trilogy. It's really hard for me to rank these, but probably my 3rd favorite would be Halo 2. Just not because it's objectively worse. I know many people prefer Halo 2's multiplayer over Halo 3, but to be honest, like, I didn't play it as much. The campaign was a bit rushed in places. It's probably my least favorite of the stories, though it's still an incredible game and I still play it all the time. My second favorite of the Halo games would be Halo Combat Evolved, but even though this is my second favorite Halo game, it's probably my second favorite game of all time. Especially the story. The story from Halo 2 and Halo 3 was really quite different from Halo Combat Evolved. Halo CE had a very strange, very alien feel to it in a really good way. It's really hard to explain unless you've played Halo Combat Evolved before being introduced to the rest of the series, but I just remember playing that game and I don't know, it's hard to explain. Might be some nostalgia coming through because I played it during a fairly formative time in my childhood, but got very, very fond memories of that game and just kind of the way that game made me feel. The multiplayer was really fun too. I remember, what was the map? Not Snowbound, that was the Halo 3 map. Was it Blizzard, or I can't remember the name of the map. The snow one, it's kind of shaped like a horseshoe. My buddies and I, we get 8 of us, we'd do system links, we'd play that for hours on end, and it was so much fun, so much fun. Those are some of my fondest gaming memories playing Halo 1 with my buddies. And then for Halo 3, that would be number 1. I already kind of talked about that, everything from the story to the multiplayer. Again, almost every night, I remember it would have been in grade 10 when Halo 3 was really popular. Every night that summer, my buddies and I, we'd go hang out and we'd come home, we'd play Halo 3 on Xbox Live far into the morning, you know. People would get girlfriends and stuff and they'd hang up talking to them on the phone and instead play Halo 3. It was great. So that would probably be my favorite of the Halo games. I played more hours of that game than any other. Still jump on a campaign probably once every 2, just because, you know, it's a fun and comfortable to play. So as for Star Wars movies, I'll try to spend a little less time talking about this, but we'll see if I'm successful. My least favorite would probably be, I don't know, when I was a kid, Attack of the Clones, I really liked the battle scenes at the end. But I mean, everyone did. As an adult though, Attack of the Clones is probably the most unwatchable of the movies for me. My second least favorite would most likely be The Phantom Menace. This one also is kind of weird because it's in some ways most aesthetically and the way it feels, it's more similar to the original trilogy than even Revenge of the Sith, but I don't know, that movie is pretty difficult to watch. The pod racing scene is pretty fun. Of course, the Duel of the Fates is fun, and I guess the battle over Naboo is okay. Jar Jar is fairly annoying. Other parts of the movie are fairly annoying. They underused Liam Neeson and they underused Darth Maul, and it really I dislike it because it set the tone for a lot of things that I didn't like in the prequel trilogy. It also kind of like, that's where they set up everything about the Jedi, everything about the Force, midichlorians and whatnot. I know a lot of people, myself included, before, I can barely remember because Episode 1 came out while I was fairly young, but I remember I thought the Jedis would be a lot more monk-like, a lot more mystical, and I'm not sure if that would have been better, but I don't know. I remember the summer that movie came, or I don't actually remember when that movie came out, but when it did come out, all of my buddies who had birthdays, I saw that movie probably 6 times in theaters because all my friends who had birthdays basically just took people to see that. And I remember the KFC promotion and stuff. I don't dislike any of the movies really, like I've got really fond memories of Attack of the Clones, even of Phantom Menace, so it's my second least favorite, but you know, I still get warm, fuzzy feelings when I think about it. After that, I really like all of the movies. It's hard for me to decide, it's like they're all my babies, but after that we'd probably have Rogue One. Again, I still really, really liked that movie, but the fact that it didn't have Jedi in it is a step down because Jedi are basically my favorite things in Star Wars, besides space battles. Space battles would be number 2, actually, and it had a great space battle, so that's really redeeming. Number 3 would be Revenge of the Sith. Really, really liked that movie. There are some weaknesses with the acting, of course, and just some general storytelling weaknesses, but overall, it's a fun movie. I even more enjoy watching it now that there's so many Star Wars memes about it, but yeah, that's probably my 4th least favorite. After that, we'd probably have Episode 7. Really liked that movie, thought it was a good return to form for the Star Wars franchise. It was fairly safe, and there are things that I didn't like. Some aspects of the universe were thrown out that I didn't like. But yeah, Episode 7 would be my 4th least favorite, or 5th, whatever we're on. And then we have the original trilogy. It's really hard to separate these ones, but if I had to, I'd probably say This is going to be backwards to what most people, how most people would order it, but my least favorite of the original trilogy is probably The Empire Strikes Back. Though, as an adult, I see that that film is a masterpiece and probably objectively the best Star Wars movie. Number 2 would be A New Hope, just because I love the story of it. I love how simple it is, but how wonderful and fantastic it is at the same time. I love the storytelling, and I don't know, I just love how that movie makes me feel and how I watched it so many times as a kid. And then my favorite, and this is, again, kind of contrary to most Star Wars fans, my favorite is Return of the Jedi. That's the one I watched every day as a kid. It's got a weak beginning, admittedly, but the final battle over Endor is absolutely incredible, and really the final third of the movie is probably my favorite things ever. My favorite, part of a movie, period. Vader's redemption, the battle between Luke and the Vader and the Emperor, and of course, just everything is amazing. That, as a child, really stood out to me, and it still does. That's my favorite, although, you know, objectively I can see why Episode 5 is generally considered to be the best, and Episode 6 is usually the bottom of the original 3, but I still love it. And I remember the first time I looked the movies up on Rotten Tomatoes, I was so surprised to see that Episode 6, you know, doesn't have a great rating, but I kind of understand it now. On that note, let's go strictly into the Star Wars questions, and the Long Straw asks, what is the worst ship in the Rebel Navy? Well, that's pretty clearly the GR-75 transport ship. It makes some sense why the Rebels take them to battle, I guess. Perhaps they have some weapons on them, perhaps they kind of work as starfighter screens, perhaps they're loaded up with bombs and basically work as fire ships. I'm not really sure. I think the canon explanation has changed a few times, but yeah, they're useless. I quite like their aesthetic, but yeah, I think that they're quite clearly the worst ship in the Rebel Navy. Good question, though. Next, we have Jizz Whaler Droopy McCool. And for those who don't know, jizz whaling is basically the music style that the Cantina band from Star Wars plays. And they're called Figure and Dan and the Modal Nodes. They play jizz whaling. That is the name of the music. I'm not making it up. I did a whole video on it a while ago. And then, of course, we have the Max Rebo band, who plays at Jabba's Palace. I like Max Rebo himself, of course, just because who doesn't love a blue elephant? But Droopy McCool, just based on the name alone, is my favorite. And I think Droopy probably knew this. And for those of you who don't know who Droopy is, he's been involved with my channel for a long time. He edited, I think, a couple of my videos way back when. And he's a mod on my Discord. He was a mod on the original Discord that some of you may have been a part of, but I think that only got about 100 members strong. Yeah, he's just been involved with a long time, and I'm sure he knew what I was going to pick as an answer. Also from the Discord, Tenji Lionel asks, if you needed to design a capital warship from start to finish, what would it look like? That's a good question. That's one that I used to ask in my older videos. If it was in the Star Wars universe, I think Mon Calamari cruisers are basically spot on in how they design their ships. One thing I like about the Mon Calamari is that they have kind of lighter turbo lasers that work on both starfighters and capital ships, so it kind of prevents you from having to have laser cannons, which aren't effective against larger ships, and turbo lasers. Probably focus quite heavily on carrying capacity. Bring a lot of starfighters into battle, kind of like Home 1 does, or the Venator does, and then mix that with strong shielding. So yeah, basically, I think Mon Calamari ships are perfect, is what you should take from this. Grand Admiral Wolf, also a mod on the Discord, asks, if you could change anything about Order 66, what would it be? I don't like the fact that I would have preferred if the clones, were just clones and they were controlled fully without inhibitor chips and anything else. So when Order 66 happens, all of the clones basically just accepted the order from the Emperor because, hey, why wouldn't they? And then, they did their thing and killed all the Jedi. Like, why do they necessarily have to have second thoughts? I think clones should be different than normal things within the Star Wars universe, or else, like, for example, I liked how Jorah Sabayoth in Legends was like a deranged clone, and all the clones created by Thrawn weren't normal. Like, there was something off about them. On that note, I also don't really like the direction George Lucas and the prequels went with the Clone Wars. Star Wars Legends had been building the Clone Wars up to be kind of some event where clones went rampant on the galaxy. We never really got any details, likely because the authors knew that this would be covered in the actual prequel movies, but there were talk of clone masters and the Clone Wars being devastating on the galaxy. And instead we basically have a clone army working for the Republic fighting droids. I don't know, it's much lamer and much less cool science fiction than it could have been, at least in my opinion. I believe in Legends there was some, like, they retconned some of this by saying that the cloners on Kamino went rogue after the Clone Wars and some of the clones attacked the galaxy, but it doesn't really match the scale of, like, in Star Wars Legends, every time the Clone Wars are mentioned, people are like, we don't want another one of that, don't let it happen, and everyone knows about it, and some small skirmish after the actual Clone Wars isn't really that notable. Alright, let's keep this going. Noble Ghost says, if you had to choose to be on the Rebel Alliance or the Galactic Empire, which would you support? Well, this is a hard question because on one hand, you work for the Rebels, you're most likely going to be killed by the Empire. On the other hand, if you are the Empire, you have to kill civilians. And people say, well, the Empire was fairly benevolent and blah, 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 blah. That's blatantly not true. They destroyed a completely defenseless planet with the Death Star. They operated through tyranny. I would not want to be a part of that government, but you join the Rebel Alliance, you're probably gonna die. So I guess the best option is to work for the Rebel Alliance and be some sort of high commander who doesn't go into battle, or who strategizes, or maybe someone, a Rebel sympathizer in the Imperial Senate, someone like Mon Mothma or Bel Iblis or someone like that. Would you like the Thrawn trilogies to get canon and films made of? So he's asking, Pulp Fiction is asking, what do I think of the Thrawn trilogy, basically? Well, I obviously love the Thrawn trilogy. Talk about it far more than any Star Wars Expanded Universe material, any other Star Wars Expanded Universe material. I love it. Unfortunately, I don't see how they can make movies out of it. The original trilogy cast are so important, which is what makes it really different from the new canon, at least to this point. We don't have Han, Lando, Luke, and whoever else going on adventures so much. Obviously, because they're restricted in what they can tell, until at least this first trilogy of movies. But back on topic, so no, it's not possible for films to be made of it. I also think people would be really unsatisfied with how it ends without saying anything else. But yes, I would like it to be, like, obviously Thrawn is going to get more exposure, he's going to be in Star Wars Rebels. I should say he's going to be in Star Wars Rebels more. I'll be quite frustrated if he dies in Star Wars Rebels, and I don't like what the Bendu had to say to him. But yeah, I would like the Thrawn trilogy to be brought back in some respects. I would like the Noghri to come back in a more prominent role. I know they've been involved somewhat. I would like Talon Karrde to come back. Mara Jade probably isn't going to be able to come back, but I quite liked her as a character. And yeah, just the general ideas that were encapsulated in that trilogy, I would love for the new Star Wars canon to involve. Let's see, do we have any other questions? Would you rather be stuck in an escape pod drifting in space for 3 hours with Jar Jar Binks or Jabba the Hutt? That's actually the last question, and it's a fitting one. Jabba's my boy. I love that big slug. He's disgusting, but I think everyone's had a moment in their lives where they're like, I understand why Jabba the Hutt is the way he is. Like, everyone's had the moment where they're like, well, I haven't showered for 2 days, and I'm eating a bag of Doritos. I'm basically Jabba the Hutt. So I feel like I could connect with him on a deeply personal level. Although I'm not generally like that, you know, where I work from home, there have been days where I've been pretty lazy. So Jar Jar Binks is just, he's too much. He's got a good heart though. Jabba the Hutt would probably try to kill you or have you killed. But on the other hand, maybe if you connected with him, you can make those sweet Hutt connections and, you know, be set up afterwards. So I don't know. I guess probably Jabba. Assuming there's space for both of us in his gigantic slug body. Jabba would also be fairly easy to kill if it came down to it, and you could live off his remains for a very long time. Although it says for 3 hours, so if it's just for 3 hours, probably Jar Jar. But is that it? Let me just check. I think that's all of the that is all of the questions for this first Q&A. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know if I'll be doing another one of these. I certainly won't be anytime soon. I'd rather do one big video. I know some other people do it weekly, and I do think that's a good idea, but I don't think there's that demand there for me. Maybe what I might do is once a week take 3 or 4 canon questions or legends questions, kind of expand on those, or maybe just brief verses without actually having to do the full formal thing. Maybe I could do that once a week. If anyone actually got this far into the video, let me know down below. Also, if you got this far, don't just answer that other question, but just thank you. I really appreciate you guys, actually some of you being this interested in what I talk about. People always say that, well, not always, but people often say that they'll turn on my content and, you know, when they're driving to work or when they're cleaning the house or whatever, and that is perfect. That's kind of exactly what I aim for. I do try to put visual content for those of you who like to, watch the video itself, which is kind of the kind of person I am. But, I'm a big fan of podcasts. I know someone asked, also one of the questions I meant to include is someone asked whether I'm going to eventually do a podcast, and I may. I'm not sure. I'm not great at speaking just off the cuff, as you guys probably picked up during this video. I'd like to be a guest on a podcast, but I will say I was hugely inspired by the guys over at Star Wars Minute, the podcast. They basically break down every single minute of the Star Wars trilogy, minute by minute. Hugely entertaining. That used to be my go-to when driving to school or driving to work. So I'm glad that I've kind of taken that role for some of you guys. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, I'll probably try to be in the comment section for a bit, answering them. But yeah, let me know what you think about my kind of weekly or bi-weekly video idea. Maybe I'll do another Q&A along with a face reveal at 100 or 150,000. My face is very boring. I'm a very average looking person, so people expecting to see either Jabba the Hutt or Han Solo, like either side of the spectrum, are going to be disappointed. But yeah, that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this Q&A. It is going to be annoying to edit this and to put music in the background, so I'm sorry. It's going to probably not be out till later tonight. Thanks again, though, guys. As always, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.